The sky was clear over Colorado Springs when the alien ship arrived. It came without warning. One moment the sky was blue and empty. The next, a massive shape blocked out the sun. It was huge, miles long, shaped like a black blade slicing through the clouds. No engines screamed, no lights flashed, just silence and shadow. People stopped what they were doing. Drivers pulled over. Kids ran outside. Phones recorded. Everyone stared. The object hovered above Cheyenne Mountain, home to NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command. That wasn't a coincidence. Within minutes, the world knew. Governments scrambled. Scientists argued. Soldiers prepared for war. But no one fired. Not yet. Then the message came. Not in words, but in thoughts. A voice inside every human mind. We come in peace. That was all. And then it repeated in dozens of languages across radio waves, television signals, and internet servers. The alien ship didn't land. Not at first, it just stayed in place, unmoving like a giant watching ants. A week passed, governments met, debates raged. Should we respond? Invite them down? Shoot first? In the end, President Evelyn Ward made the call. She spoke on live television. We'll meet them, she said, face to face, as equals. Her words calmed some people, scared others. But the decision was made. Kyle Bennett stood in front of a mirror adjusting his tie. He was tall, early 40s, with short brown hair and tired eyes. He had spent most of his life as a diplomat, talking, listening, convincing. He had helped end wars before he turned 30. Now he was being asked to do something far harder. Talk to aliens. He worked out of Langley, Virginia for the State Department. His office was filled with maps, books, and old photos from past missions. Today he wore his best suit, not because it would impress the aliens, but because it reminded him who he was. Human, not afraid, not weak. Just, ready? Are you sure about this? Asked Lisa Harper, standing behind him. Lisa was the head of security for the mission. She used to be a fighter pilot, then an instructor, then a commander. Her hair was cut short, her voice always calm. She didn't wear a suit, she wore a uniform, and under it she carried a gun. You don't have to go, she said. They could kill us the second we step on board. Kyle smiled. That's why you're coming too. She rolled her eyes. I'm not your bodyguard. No, Kyle said. You're my backup plan. Lisa sighed. I hate backup plans. The meeting took place in Nevada, Area 51. No one talked about it, but everyone knew. The alien ship landed in a remote part of the desert. Military helicopters flew around it, keeping distance. Cameras watched every inch. Snipers waited in hidden bunkers. Kyle and Lisa arrived by transport plane. They stepped out into dry heat and dust. The alien ship loomed ahead, smooth, dark, silent. Dozens of soldiers stood guard. General Marcus Cole greeted them personally. You two are crazy, he muttered. We prefer brave, Kyle replied. Cole shook his head. Be careful. These things don't play fair. They haven't done anything yet, Kyle said. Yet, Cole added. A ramp lowered from the ship. No one came out. No sound, just silence. Kyle walked forward. Lisa followed. Halfway there, she whispered, If they try anything, I'll duck, Kyle said. Lisa looked at him. You're insane. And you're still here. She smirked. Guess I am. They reached the ramp and stepped inside. Inside, the air felt cool. The walls were metal but warm to the touch. Lights pulsed softly along the floor. No buttons, no switches, no controls. Just movement, as if the ship itself was alive. Two figures stood waiting. Tall, thin, pale gray skin, large eyes, no visible. Mouths aliens Virex, they called themselves. One raised a hand. A voice echoed in their minds again. Welcome, Kyle stepped forward. He bowed slightly. Thank you. The Virex tilted their heads, curious. Then one moved closer. Its eyes scanned Kyle from top to bottom. It looked at Lisa, then back at Kyle. You are primitive. Kyle didn't flinch. We're human, he said. And we'd like to talk. The other Virex stepped forward. Your kind has nothing to offer. Kyle smiled. We'll see. They were taken to a room. No chairs, no tables, just glowing symbols on the walls. The Virex sat cross-legged on the floor. Kyle and Lisa did the same. Hours passed. They talked. About Earth, about humans, about weapons. The Virex were fascinated by one thing: power. They wanted to know how strong humanity was, how advanced, what kind of weapons they had. Kyle explained. Lasers, missiles, drones, bombs. Each time the Virex looked less impressed. Finally, one of them stood up. Your weapons are toys. You throw fire and metal, we bend space, we move stars. Kyle stayed calm, but we use what we have. The Virex laughed, not with sound, but with thought. You are weak, but you are funny. Kyle didn't laugh. Lisa tensed beside him. The Virex left the room, left them alone. After a while, Kyle finally spoke. They think we're nothing. Lisa nodded. They're wrong. They mocked us, Kyle said. They won't be laughing forever, Lisa said. No, Kyle agreed. They won't. Back on Earth, the meeting made headlines. Some people were excited, others scared. The Virex stayed in orbit, watching, waiting. They sent more messages. Show us your strength. Prove your worth. Entertain. Us world leaders debated again. Should we show them our weapons? General Cole argued yes. This isn't about diplomacy, he told the president. It's about respect. If we let them mock us now, they'll walk all over us later. President Ward listened. So did Dr. Nina Ramirez. She was in her lab in Colorado, watching everything unfold. Nina was a weapons engineer, quiet, smart, and focused. She had been working on something big for years, something secret, Project Thunderbolt. No one else in the government even knew about it until now. She picked up the phone, dialed the White House. Madam President, she said, I think I have something that might change their minds. Weeks passed. Preparations began. The Virex demanded a demonstration, a test of human strength. They came down to Earth again. This time, in front of cameras, they landed in the Nevada desert. Hundreds of reporters gathered. Military personnel stood by. The Virex stood in front of the crowd, smiling, if they had mouths, waiting, expecting a joke. What they got was something else. Kyle stood beside President Ward. Lisa stood behind her, scanning the area. General Cole was on standby, and Dr. Ramirez stood near a control panel, hands steady. The Virex looked bored. One waved its hand. Begin. Ramirez pressed a button. Silence. Then, high above, a streak of light shot across the sky. Fast, too fast to track. Then, boom. The ground shook. The island target, hundreds of miles away, vanished in a flash of fire. The shockwave knocked people off their feet. The Virex staggered, their eyes widened. What was that? Ramirez stepped forward. Gravity, she said. The Virex looked at each other. For the first time, they looked worried. Kyle looked at Lisa. She smiled. Think they're still laughing? Kyle shook his head. No, he said. I think they're starting to get it. The world watched. The Virex stood frozen in shock. Their glowing eyes blinked slowly. The explosion had knocked dust into the air. Smoke rolled across the desert. Reporters coughed. Soldiers held their ears. Even the cameras wavered under the force of the blast. But the Virex didn't move. They stared at the empty space where the island used to be. Then one turned to Dr. Nina Ramirez. Explain. Nina stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but her heart beat fast. It wasn't a bomb, she said. It was gravity. She pointed up. The weapon came from space. No fuel, no fire, just mass and speed. The Virex tilted their heads. A rock? Ramirez smiled. Not just any rock, she said. A tungsten rod 10 meters long dropped from orbit. The second Virex spoke. "You threw it?" "No," she said. "We let it fall." Silence followed. Then the first Virex laughed, not with sound but with thought. Clever children. And just like that, the moment passed. The aliens turned away. They looked less worried now, more amused. One waved its hand. Interesting. Trick. But still weak. They walked back to their ship. Reporters shouted questions. Soldiers stood ready. President Ward said nothing. She only watched as the alien vessel lifted off, rising into the sky until it vanished into the clouds. Only. Then did she speak? "Well," she said, "that went better than expected." Lisa Harper shook her head. "They're still treating us like toys." "They will," Kyle Bennett said beside her, "until we make them stop." Back in Washington, things got worse. The Virex released a public message. It played on every screen around the world. Humans are primitive. Their weapons are simple. Their science is basic. Their strength is low. Then they showed videos, clips of human soldiers training, missiles launching, tanks rolling through dirt. Each clip ended with laughter. Again, not real laughter, but a wave of thought that felt like mockery. They added text to the video. "This is what passes for power among humans." People were furious. Social media exploded. Hashtags like "Chucking Human Pride" and "Earth Strong" trended worldwide. In bars, schools, and homes, people argued. Some said fight back, others said ignore them. President Ward called a meeting. At the White House, generals, scientists, and diplomats sat around a big table. General Marcus Cole was angry. "This is an insult," he said. "They came here to laugh at us." Dr. Ramirez sipped coffee. "They don't understand what they saw," she said. "They think it was a lucky shot." Kyle nodded. "We surprised them once. That's good. But if we want to change how they see us, we need to do more." Lisa leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Kyle looked at the president. "We show them more." Cole frowned. "You want to give them another demo?" "No," Kyle said. "I want them to come to us." Everyone looked confused, he explained. "We invite them back. Not for a test, for a talk. Let them ask questions. Let them look at our tech. Let them feel safe." Lisa narrowed her eyes. "And then?" Kyle smiled. "And then we hit them with something bigger." Cole grinned. "I like this plan." President Ward sighed. "You all realize this could go very wrong." "Yes," Kyle said, "but so does doing nothing." Days later, the invitation was sent. To the Virex. Come to Earth. Talk, tour, learn. They accepted, quickly, too quickly. That made Lisa nervous. "They're coming too easy," she told Kyle. "Something's wrong." "They want to prove we're weak," Kyle said. "Let them try." When the Virex returned, they brought more ships, 3 this time. They landed in Nevada again. This time, the welcome was colder. Soldiers lined the area. Cameras rolled. Flags flew. Kyle and Lisa met them at the ramp. The same 2 Virex stepped out. They looked at Kyle. "You asked for us." Kyle nodded. "We did." The Virex raised a hand. "Show us your weakness." Kyle smiled. "Gladly." Over the next week, the Virex toured military bases, labs, and research centers. They saw fighter jets, submarines, tanks, and drones. Each time, they mocked what they saw. Slow, weak, noisy, useless. At a base in California, they watched a stealth bomber land. One Virex laughed. "You hide in shadows? How cowardly." At a lab in Virginia, they saw a new laser cannon. Bright lights and little damage. At a testing site in New Mexico, they saw a missile launch. Expensive firecrackers. Everywhere they went, they recorded. They took notes. They talked to each other in silent waves of thought. And everywhere they went, people grew angrier. By the end of the week, protests broke out. In cities across the world, people marched. "Respect us. Earth is not weak. Stop laughing, President." Ward stayed quiet. She waited. So did Kyle. So did Lisa. So did Dr. Ramirez. because the final part of the plan was coming. On the last day, the Virex requested a final meeting. They stood in a large tent near the edge of the desert. Inside, maps hung on walls. Screens showed data. Tables were full of reports. The Virex looked around. "This is all you have?" Kyle stepped forward. "No," he said. "This is what we let you see." The Virex tilted their heads. "Explain." Kyle pressed a button. A screen lit up. It showed a satellite view of Earth. Then, a red dot appeared, moving fast, toward the ground. Boom. Another island vanished. The Virex jumped. Ramirez stepped forward. "That," she said, "wasn't shown to you." The Virex looked at the screen, then at Kyle. "You hid this from us?" Kyle smiled. "We wanted to see how much you were paying attention." One Virex clenched its fists. "You tricked us." "No," Kyle said. "We taught you." Silence filled the tent. Then the second Virex spoke. "You are dangerous," Kyle nodded. "Now you're starting to get it." The Virex left that night, without saying goodbye. Their ships rose into the sky and vanished. The next day they sent a message. "We will return when we are ready." No laughter, no insults, just silence. Back in Colorado, Nina Ramirez sat. In her lab, she looked at her computer screen. A report flashed on it. "Kinetic strike successful. 0 casualties, target destroyed." She smiled. For the first time, the Virex were scared, not because of power, but because of surprise. She picked up her phone. Dialed Kyle. "We did it," she said. He was walking outside the White House. He looked up at the sky. "We did," he said. "But this isn't over." "No," she agreed. "It's just beginning." In the days that followed, the world changed. Governments started working together. Scientists shared secrets. Militaries built new systems. Project Thunderbolt became official. More satellites were launched, more rods were placed in orbit. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a player, and the galaxy was starting to notice. But not everyone liked what they saw. Other alien species began watching Earth. Some were curious, others were scared, a few were angry, because the Virex weren't the only ones who thought humans were weak. And now they weren't so sure. Back at the Pentagon, General Cole read a new report. He looked at Kyle. "They're going to come back," he said. "But next time they won't be laughing." Kyle nodded. "Good," he said, "because next time we'll be ready." Lisa stood beside him. She looked out the window, at the sky, at the stars, at the future. She whispered, "They thought we were weak. They were wrong." The silence after the Virex left felt heavier than before. They had mocked humanity. They had laughed at Earth's weapons. But now they were gone, and not in anger or fear, but in thought. Something had changed, and everyone on Earth could feel. And President Evelyn Ward sat in her office late at night. Her desk was covered with reports, maps, and messages from around the world. Some said we should attack first. Others begged for peace. A few asked one simple question. What if they come back with friends? She looked out the window. The city lights below were steady, quiet, normal. But she knew nothing was normal anymore. She picked up the phone. "Get me General Cole," she said. General Marcus Cole arrived within the hour. He was a big man, built like a soldier, dressed like one too. His boots made noise on the floor as he walked into the Oval Office. He stood tall. "Madam President," Ward pointed to a chair. "Sit down, General." Cole sat. "You wanted to talk about what happens next?" he said. Ward nodded. "I did. And I want the truth, no politics, just facts." Cole leaned forward. "The truth is this. The Virex are scared, not of our weapons, but of how fast we surprise them. That kind of speed, it makes enemies nervous." Ward frowned. "So what do we do now?" Cole smiled. "We make sure they stay nervous." Ward didn't smile back. "They might bring others. Next time." Cole's smile faded. "That's why we need to be ready." Across town, Kyle Bennett sat in a quiet bar. It wasn't fancy. Just a small place with dim lights and old music. He sipped his drink slowly, thinking. Lisa Harper sat across from him. She didn't drink. She watched people instead. Kyle finally spoke. They're going to come back. Lisa nodded. They have to. Kyle looked at her. Why? Lisa turned to face him. Because they can't let this go. If they admit we beat them, even once, then every other alien out there will wonder if humans are worth fearing. Kyle sighed. And if they come back with more ships? Lisa smirked. Then, we hit harder. Kyle shook his head. This isn't just about strength, it's about control. We don't want a war. Lisa leaned closer. But we can't look weak again either. Kyle didn't answer. Outside, the wind blew through the streets. Inside, the silence between them grew heavy. Then Lisa's phone buzzed. She checked it. It's Ramirez. Kyle raised an eyebrow. What does she want? Lisa read the message. She says she has something new. Something bigger than Thunderbolt. Kyle sat up straight. She's been working on another project? Lisa nodded. She says it's called Project Orbital Edge. Kyle frowned. What does that mean? Lisa stood up. Only one way to find out. Dr. Nina Ramirez waited in her lab. It was deep underground, hidden under a mountain in Colorado. The room was filled with screens, computers, and data. She stood in front of a large display. When Kyle and Lisa entered, she didn't say hello. She just pointed. This is what comes next. The screen showed a map of Earth. Then red dots appeared. Dozens of them, in space, satellites, but not regular ones. These are kinetic strike platforms, Ramirez explained. Each one carries multiple tungsten rods. They orbit silently. No engines, no sound, just waiting. Lisa crossed her arms. How fast can they fire? Ramirez smiled. All at once if needed. Kyle stared at the screen. That's overkill. Ramirez nodded. It's meant to be. Lisa looked at Kyle. If we launch this, the Virex won't. Laugh again. Kyle rubbed his chin. But will they run? Ramirez stepped forward. No. They'll think. And they'll tell others what they saw. Kyle looked at her. You mean scare them? Ramirez nodded. Exactly. Back at the White House, President Ward listened carefully. General Cole stood beside her. Ramirez finished her report. So? She asked. What do you think? Ward didn't speak right away. Finally, she looked at Cole. Can we trust this system? Cole nodded. It's tested. It works. We've done simulations. There's no reason to believe it won't work in real life. Ward looked at Kyle. And if we show it to the Virex? Kyle answered calmly. They'll know we're serious. Ward looked at the screen again. At the satellites. At the power. She took a deep breath. Okay, she said. We do it. Cole smiled. Yes, ma'am. Ramirez stood taller. Kyle only said one thing. This changes everything. The plan was set. The Virex would return soon. Their last message had said so. We will return when we are ready. So Earth got ready too. Project Orbital Edge went live. New satellites were launched. Old ones were upgraded. Teams worked, day and night. The world didn't know everything, only that something big was coming. Rumors spread. Some said Earth was building a shield. Others said we were preparing for war. A few believed we had already won. But the truth was far more dangerous. Earth wasn't just showing off. Earth was warning the galaxy. Weeks passed. Then one morning the sky lit up, not with explosions, with movement. Dozens of objects rose into orbit. Silent, fast, unstoppable. People watched from rooftops and windows. Reporters filmed. Scientists stared in awe. One reporter asked the question everyone wanted to know. What are they doing? No one answered. Not yet, but soon the world would see. That night, Kyle met with President Ward again. She looked tired. You think this was the right call? She asked. Kyle nodded. We had no choice. If we didn't act, the Virex would have kept mocking us. Other aliens would have followed. Ward sighed. And now? Kyle looked out the window. Now the stars weren't just distant points of light. They were watching, waiting, listening. We made them pay attention, Kyle said. Ward looked at him. Do you think they'll respect us? Kyle smiled. No, he said. But they'll fear us. Ward didn't like that word, fear. But she understood. Sometimes fear was the only language strong enough to be heard. The Virex returned 2 days later. Their ships landed in Nevada. Again, this time they didn't laugh, they didn't mock, they didn't walk around like kings, they stood still, watching, waiting. Then one of them turned to Kyle. You have changed. Kyle nodded. We had to. The Virex looked at the sky. You placed weapons above your world. Kyle didn't deny it. We did. Another Virex stepped forward. Why? Kyle looked them both in the eyes, to prove a point. Which was? Kyle smiled. That we're not weak. The Virex looked at each other. Then, for the first time, they bowed. Just slightly, not in surrender, in recognition. You are stronger than we believed. Kyle didn't respond. He didn't need to. Behind him, Lisa stood tall. Above them, the satellites waited, and somewhere out there, other aliens were watching, learning, thinking, wondering. What else could humans do? The Virex stayed silent for a long time. They stood in the desert looking up at the sky. Not with fear, not with anger, but with something new. Respect. Kyle Bennett watched them carefully. He had spent his life reading people, and now aliens, through small signs, a twitch, a pause, a shift in posture, and right now the Virex were thinking. Hard Lisa Harper stood beside him. Her arms were crossed. Her eyes never left the two tall, gray-skinned beings in front of them. She didn't trust them. Not yet. Behind them, soldiers waited. Cameras rolled. Satellites hovered above Earth. Ready. Finally, one of the Virex turned to Kyle. You have changed your place in the stars. Kyle didn't smile. He didn't nod. He only looked back. We showed you what we can do, he said. Now it's up to you what you do with that knowledge. The second Virex stepped forward. Your kind was not strong before. Kyle raised an eyebrow. And now? The alien paused. Now we must decide if you are dangerous. Lisa tensed. Dangerous? She asked. We didn't attack anyone. The first Virex tilted its head. That is why we are watching. There was silence again. Then the second Virex spoke. We will report to the High Council. And with that, they turned and walked back toward their ship. No goodbye, no threat, no promise. Just the quiet sound of footsteps on sand, and the knowledge that something had shifted. Earth was no longer invisible. Back in Washington, President Evelyn Ward sat in her office. Her phone rang. It was General Marcus Cole. They're leaving, he said. Ward looked out the window. I saw. Cole sounded tense. What do we do now? Ward thought for a moment. We wait. Cole wasn't happy. That's it? After everything we did? Ward turned from the window. No, she said. We don't stop. We prepare. They'll be back. And next time, they might not come alone. Cole understood. Yes, ma'am. He hung up. Ward sat down. She looked at her desk. On it was a small model of the planet Earth. She touched it gently. For years, humans had looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they knew the answer. They weren't, but they also weren't weak, and that mattered more than ever. In Colorado, Dr. Nina Ramirez sat in her lab. She watched footage of the Virex walking away. Beside her, Kyle and Lisa entered. You look like you just won the lottery, Lisa said. Ramirez smiled. I feel like I did. Kyle sat down. So what now? Ramirez pointed at the screen. Now we make sure they remember us. Kyle frowned. How? Ramirez tapped a few keys on her computer. A new map appeared. This time it showed space around Earth. Dozens of red dots. Satellites. Kinetic strike platforms. Project Orbital Edge was fully online. Ramirez looked at Kyle. We keep showing them what we can do. Lisa shook her head. They already know. Ramirez nodded. But others need to see it too. Kyle leaned forward. You think other aliens are watching? Ramirez looked serious. I know they are. She pulled up data, reports from deep space telescopes, signals from unknown sources. One message repeated across multiple frequencies. Not from the Virex, from someone else. Who are these humans? Ramirez looked at Kyle. They're asking questions. Lisa crossed her arms. Then maybe we should give them answers. Kyle stood up. Let's show them who we are. Across the world, governments reacted. Some countries wanted peace talks. Others demanded stronger weapons. A few called for war. President Ward held a global broadcast. She spoke calmly. I want you all to know this. We are not alone. But we are not afraid. People listened. Soldiers trained harder. Scientists worked faster. And slowly, Earth began to change. Not just in power, but in mindset. They were no longer just a planet. They were a force. Weeks passed. Then, a new signal came. Not from the Virex, from another species, unknown. The message was short. We wish to speak. It was sent to Earth through deep space radio. President Ward read it 3 times. Then she called a meeting. At the White House, leaders from around the world gathered. General Cole was there. So was Kyle. So was Lisa. Dr. Ramirez, joined by video link. Ward, stood at the center. This is it, she said. First contact on part 2. Cole frowned. Are we ready? Ward looked at the message again. I think we are. She turned to Kyle. You'll lead the mission. Kyle nodded. I will. Lisa stepped forward. I'm coming too. Ward smiled. I wouldn't expect anything less. The meeting took place in Nevada. Same place as before. But this time the air felt different. Tense, excited, scared. A new alien ship landed, smaller than the Virex's. Round, blue, with glowing lines across its surface. When the ramp lowered, single figure stepped out, shorter than the Virex, green skin, big eyes, no mouth. It raised one hand. A voice echoed in their minds. We are the Cathari. We have watched your kind. Kyle stepped forward. He bowed slightly. We are honored. The Cathari looked at him. You surprised the Virex. Kyle smiled. We meant to. The Cathari tilted its head. Why? Kyle answered honestly. Because they laughed at us. The Cathari was silent. Then, we do not laugh. Kyle nodded. That's good. The Cathari looked at the sky. You placed weapons in orbit. Kyle didn't deny it. We did. The Cathari looked back at him. You are not like others. Kyle raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? The Cathari's voice grew softer. Most young species hide. You do not. Kyle smiled. No. We don't. The Cathari looked at the soldiers behind him, then back at Kyle. We would like to learn from you. Silence followed. Then Kyle finally spoke. We'd like to learn from you too. The Cathari gave a small nod. Then let us begin. Later that night, Kyle sat with Lisa outside the base. Stars filled the sky. Lisa looked up. They're really out there. Kyle nodded. All of them. Lisa looked at him. Do you think we made the right call? Kyle thought for a moment. We had to show strength, he said. But now we need to show wisdom. Lisa smirked. Since when are you the wise one? Kyle laughed. Since we started talking to aliens. Lisa leaned back. Well, at least we're not getting laughed at anymore. Kyle looked at the sky. No, he said. Now we're being taken seriously. Lisa looked at him. That's better, right? Kyle nodded. It's much better. The world changed after the Virex left, not in a big loud way. No warships flying through the sky or alien flags on Earth, but in quiet ways that mattered more. People started to believe in themselves again. Not just soldiers and scientists. Farmers. Teachers. Kids playing video games. They all looked up at the stars now and thought, we belong out there, and the galaxy was starting to agree. Back in Colorado, Dr. Nina Ramirez sat in her lab. She stared at her computer screen. A message blinked on it from space. It wasn't from the Virex, it was from someone else. We are watching you, humans. Ramirez didn't flinch. She had expected this. She typed a reply. We know. Then she leaned back in her chair and smiled. For the first time in her life, Earth wasn't just a planet full of questions. It was giving answers, strong ones. In Washington, President Evelyn Ward met with her advisors. General Marcus Cole stood beside her. He looked tired. We're getting more messages, he said. Ward raised an eyebrow. From who? Cole handed her a report. The Cathari sent another one. So did 2 new species we've never seen before. Ward flipped through the pages. Some were friendly, some were curious, one was even threatening. She closed the folder. They're all watching us now. Cole nodded. They saw what we did to the Virex. They know we're not weak. Ward looked out the window. What do they want? Cole crossed his arms. To see if we'll hurt them next. Ward sighed. That's not who we are. Cole didn't answer, because deep down he knew the truth. Sometimes strength made others scared, even when it wasn't meant to. Kyle Bennett sat on a rooftop in New York City. He watched the lights below. Cars moved like ants. People walked like shadows. Lisa Harper joined him. She carried 2 drinks. She handed one to Kyle. You look like you need this. He took it without saying thanks. They sat in silence for a while. Finally, Lisa spoke. They're asking about us, now. Kyle sipped his drink. I know. Lisa looked at the sky. How many aliens do you think are watching? Kyle shrugged. Too many to count. Lisa frowned. And what happens when one of them decides to attack? Kyle looked at her. Then we show them why the Virex bowed. Lisa didn't smile. This isn't a game anymore. Kyle nodded. No, he said. It never was. Across the world, Earth began to change. Not just in how it saw itself, but in how it acted. Governments worked together like never before. The United Nations created a new group, the Interstellar Relations Council. Its job? To talk to aliens, to learn, to protect, and to make sure Earth stayed strong. Kyle was asked to lead it. He said yes. Lisa joined him, so did Dr. Ramirez, and General Cole. Together they formed the core of something new, Earth's first real place among the stars. Months passed. The Virex did not return, but others did. First the Cathari. They came again, this time with gifts. Strange crystals that could store energy. They gave them to Earth as a sign of peace. President Ward accepted them. She thanked them, and for the first time, a human and an alien shook hands. No weapons, no fear, just trust. It was small, but it was real. Then came the Zarni, tall, red-skinned, loud voices. They didn't come in peace, at least, not at first. Their ship landed near Moscow. They demanded to speak to Earth's leaders. When they met with President Ward, they didn't bow. They didn't smile. They only asked one question. Are you a threat? Ward didn't flinch. We only fight when we must. The Zarni leader looked at her, then at the soldiers around her, then at the sky. He pointed upward. You have weapons above your world. Ward didn't deny it. We do. The Zarni leader stepped closer. Why? Ward looked him in the eye. Because we will not be laughed at again. There was silence. Then the Zarni leader laughed, loud, deep, real. Good, he turned to his people. These humans are not weak, they are warriors. Then he walked away. No threats, no war, just respect. Back in Colorado, Ramirez got a new idea. She called Kyle. "We should build something new," she said. Kyle asked, "What?" Ramirez smiled. "A space station." Kyle raised an eyebrow. "For what?" Ramirez's voice was excited. "To watch over Earth, to study space, to talk to aliens." Kyle thought for a moment. Then he said, "Do it." Ramirez hung up, and Project Skyfire began, a human-made base in orbit, the first step toward a future among the stars. On a military base in Nevada, General Cole trained new soldiers, not just Americans, people from every country. They wore the same uniform, same badge, same mission, to protect Earth, to prove that humans were not just strong, but smart and united. Cole looked at them. He smiled. For the first time in years, he believed in the future. In schools across the world, kids learned new things, not just math and science, but history, the story of how Earth stood tall, how it faced giants, and how it won. Teachers told the story of the Virex, of the Kethari, of the Zarni, and of the day Earth became part of something bigger. Students listened. Some dreamed of becoming astronauts. Others wanted to be diplomats. Few even hoped to meet aliens someday, and none of them were afraid, because they knew the truth. Humans weren't weak. They were wild, unpredictable, and ready. Back in Washington, Kyle met with President Ward. They sat in her office. Outside, the city buzzed. Inside, the air was calm. Ward looked at him. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Kyle didn't hesitate. "Yes." Ward looked tired. "But what if we made enemies?" Kyle smiled. "We made friends too." Ward nodded slowly. "That's true." She looked out the window. "At what cost?" Kyle followed her gaze. "Up to the stars." "We showed them who we are," he said. "That's worth any cost." Ward looked at him. "And what are we?" Kyle stood. He looked at the flag behind her desk, then at the sky, then at her. "We are humans." He paused. "And we are not afraid." The stars no longer felt so far away. For most of human history, people looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. Now they knew the answer. They weren't. And the galaxy was finally listening. In Colorado, Dr. Nina Ramirez stood on a hill outside her lab. She looked up. A bright light moved across the sky. Not a plane, not a bird, a satellite, one of many now orbiting Earth. Project Orbital Edge had done more than scare the Virex. It had changed how humans saw themselves, and how others saw them too. Ramirez sipped coffee from a thermos. She wasn't just a scientist anymore. She was a symbol of strength, of brains, of courage. Behind her, someone walked up. Kyle Bennett. He wore a new uniform now, dark blue, with a badge that read, Interstellar Relations Council, Director. Ramirez smiled. "You look like you belong in space." Kyle laughed. "I feel like I do." He stood beside her, looked up. "They're still watching." Ramirez nodded. "I know." She turned to him. "Do you think we've done enough?" Kyle didn't answer right away. Instead, he watched the light move across the sky. Then he spoke. "We showed them we're not weak," he said. "But showing isn't enough." Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "What else can we do?" Kyle smiled. "We lead." Back in Washington, President Evelyn Ward signed a new bill. It was short, only one page, but it changed everything. Earth officially joins the interstellar community as a recognized member. Flags flew, cameras rolled, people cheered. Ward looked out at the crowd. She thought about how far they had come, from being mocked, to being feared, to being respected, and now they were equals. She handed the pen to Kyle. He took it, smiled. "This is for you." Ward shook her head. "No," she said. "This is for all of us." At the new Space Defense Base in Nevada, General Marcus Cole trained soldiers every day. They came from every country, spoke different languages, had different skin colors, but they wore the same uniform, same mission, same goal, to protect Earth. Cole stood on a platform above the training field. Below, soldiers ran drills, fired weapons, practiced teamwork. He watched them, proud. One of his officers walked up. "Sir," he said, "we got word from orbit." Cole turned. "What kind of word?" The officer handed him a report. The Cathari sent another message. Cole opened it, read it, smiled. He looked back at the soldiers below. "They're not afraid of us anymore." The officer frowned. "That's a good thing." Cole nodded. "It means they trust us." He folded the paper, tucked it into his pocket. "And trust," he said, "is harder to earn than fear." On a rooftop in New York City, Lisa Harper sat with a group of kids. They asked questions, lots of them. "Did you really meet aliens?" Lisa nodded. "More than once." "Were they scary?" Lisa smiled. "At first." "Did you ever get scared?" She thought. Then she said, "Yes, but I never let them see it." One kid pointed at the sky. "What's out there?" Lisa looked. Up, stars blinked, lights moved. Something big was coming. She answered softly, "A future." Then she added, "One we built ourselves." Across the world, changes happened fast. New laws, new schools, new jobs. Space became normal, not science fiction. Reality. Children dreamed of flying ships between planets. Engineers built tools to mine asteroids. Doctors studied alien diseases. Everything was new. Everything was possible. And it all started with one moment, when humanity fired its primitive weapons and made the Virex stop laughing. In orbit, the first human space station floated silently. It was called Skyfire Station. It belonged to no one nation. It belonged to everyone. Its job: watch, learn, talk, protect. Inside, scientists worked side by side with diplomats. Soldiers guarded the halls, and sometimes even aliens visited, quietly, cautiously, curious. Kyle walked through the halls. He stopped at a window, looked down at Earth, blue bright, beautiful. Someone joined him, an alien, short, green, Cathari. It looked at him. "You have changed much." Kyle smiled. "So have you." The Cathari tilted its head. "We used to watch your planet from afar." Kyle nodded. "And now?" The Cathari looked at Earth. "Now we stand beside you." Silence followed. Then Kyle said, "Thank you." The Cathari looked at him. "For what?" Kyle pointed at the stars. "For seeing us." The Cathari gave a small nod. "You made it hard not to." Then it walked away, leaving Kyle alone, looking at home, thinking, smiling. Back on Earth, a new school opened in Texas. It was built near where Kyle grew up. Outside, a statue stood. It showed a soldier, a scientist, and a diplomat. Together. Underneath, a plaque read, "Humans are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the smartest. But we are brave, we are clever, and we never give up." Students walked past it every morning. Some touched it, some smiled, some dreamed, because now anything was possible. In a quiet room in Colorado, President Ward sat alone. She held a picture, old, faded. It showed her as a young girl, standing in front of a telescope, dreaming. She smiled. Put the picture down. Walked to the window, looked up, said quietly, "We did it." No one heard her, but the stars did. And maybe somewhere out there someone else was looking back. At the edge of the solar system, a deep space probe picked up a signal, weak, far away, but clear. It repeated over and over, in a language unknown, but the meaning was simple. "Hello? We are coming. Tell us who you are." Ramirez got the message first. She stared at the screen. Then she called Kyle. He answered. She said only 2 words. "They're here." There was silence. Then, Kyle said, "Let's go say hello."